Hell yeah, dude. Toji Zenin, the freaking dude. I love him. Good profile pic.
All right, and we're live. So.
Dude, we gotta start with that. Okay, Toji Zenin is the coolest JJK character.
No
Change my
questions.
mind.
Easily. No contest.
All right, I'm
Like,
just
Oodie,
skipping
I'm
over the
telling you.
intro. That's
Do you
fine, I
know who
guess.
Toji Zenin is? Yeah.
Yeah,
Oodie,
he's
do
the
you know
guy
who
in
Toji is?
season
Yeah.
one who was like really like weird or whatever. But yeah, he's cool. He's strong. He helped
It's
with
not
the
in
defeat
season one.
Hanami. Never mind. He's the guy that got a shoulder attack with the curse or something, but he didn't care. A Cam showed me it, and all the girls were goggling over him or something.
Basically, he's like Kimimaro cool. I'm just saying. As one of the Kimimaro fans like you, he's like Kimimaro cool. Like he's just the coolest guy. Like I said, if Naruto met him, he would not say it to Obito. He would tell him Toji that he's the coolest guy.
Okay. You know what? Fair enough. I'll just have to take your word for it. I guess that's incentive to start season 2.
Before I read JJK, just everyone in the freaking story is just like, oh my god, Toji. Like, they just can't stop talking about how cool he is.
Yeah.
It's like, he's a legend, dude. Like, it's crazy. I love it.
I mean, can he pull his spinal column, like, out of his back or whatever?
He can't do that, but he can pull out a thing that kind of looks like a swirly spine out of his
swirly spine.
It's not bone, but it's curvy.
I mean, I'll take it, I guess. As long as it looks the same, that's all that matters. Considering, I mean, I can't be there, I can't smell it. It's not like it's gonna feel the same to me. So like, the looks all that matters, I guess.
His style is kind of similar to Kimimaro too. Like,
W.
Obviously it's a different verse, but like comparatively speaking, it's pretty similar.
Nah, JJK, that wipes the floor with the Naruto verse. Thunder God, what do you think about that?
Oh no, it's not really. But I mean, I haven't even like formally scaled the verse or like done that. Because I'm more so like reading through it as a fan right now, which I'm enjoying the shit out of it. Yeah, I'm absolutely loving it. But from what I've heard from other people, it's just not the case. Like, I know Kakashi vs. Gojo is a big one. Like, that was one that everybody's done a video on, and just, like, from what I've heard, it's just not really comparable. Or it would be more comparable in, like, equal stats.
Yeah, so that's the thing. Like, as, like, in the same way, I haven't, like, it goes for every other series besides Naruto. I just haven't thought of it in the same way. I'm mostly just looked at it as a fan enjoying the series, but for JJK, their hacks abilities are like ridiculously cool and would like theoretically destroy Naruto characters, but I think Naruto characters are just objectively way physically stronger and faster, and that's kind of the big thing. They obviously have some crazy hack, like Kamui or something, but a lot of like JJK abilities, that's like, well, if you're looking at how the ability works, it's like, yeah, that might actually just like one-shot anybody, but like, would they ever hit them is the question.
Nah. Kakashi's omnipotent. That's the only reason Gojo loses. Other than that, Gojo solo's fiction. Like, everyone knows this. What are you guys talking about?
Oh my gosh.
I mean, his ability is ridiculous. So, I haven't seen peak Gojo yet. I'm not that far into the story, but
yeah.
Yeah, I'm only seeing season 1, so.
I'm at chapter like 161 or something like that. I have to look.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of got spoiled on it from Twitter. I won't say anything because I don't want to like.
I did too, but honestly, okay. So the funny thing about that, just being completely as vague as possible. So I got the first spoiler, and I said I don't know about that because of something that happened earlier, and I was like, he might be fine. And then I saw another real or fake spoiler hinting at I may have been right, which is hilarious given that they're all spoilers that I haven't read yet, but I still may have guessed it right.
Yeah. I'm still sipping copium, so we'll see what happens. I'm still like just chugging it, so we'll see. Hopefully, just because regardless of what people's opinions are, I'll keep it vague. You guys get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know what happens. And I'm all here for it, strictly for the memes. Like, I'm fully on board. Let's go.
No, JJK fans are interesting to say the least from what I see on Twitter, which is not the best representation of anime fans, I will admit. Like, I always have to remember that when looking at it. But, man, these guys are wild, like, at each other. I'm like, dude, like, what's going on? Like, what happened? The series isn't even done yet, and yet people act like I don't know. It's interesting to me.
Yeah, but they just make it
Who are
too
your
easy.
favorite 3 JJK characters?
Oh man, so probably, and this will make sense probably. I like Toji, Gojo. Maki's also really cool from what I've seen. Like the whole deal with her and like what happens. I haven't like gotten to that point in the story, but I know what happens, and I'm like, I already kind of liked her before, and then she just became like insanely cool, and I'm like, all right, these three. Are
Yeah,
just
yeah. I got to a part where you know, I don't want to say anything for Oodie, but like, she's closer to Toji.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It's like I'm low key picking the same character twice. If you think about it.
She's not Toji cool, but she's getting there.
Yeah. 100%. 100%.
But Toji did it better, but still.
She just looks like a nerd to me. She's tall, skinny, got the green hair with the glasses.
Well,
Look,
she
the
looks
glasses
less nerdy
sell
now.
it.
She looks less nerdy now, I will say. At least where I'm at. But
Yeah.
she might go back to being nerdy later. I don't know.
Yeah. Doesn't she also have like a gun, and that's like her fighting style, and that's like the
No,
most.
that's her sister.
Oh, that's her sister.
Yeah.
Never mind. Yeah, she's got the staff then. Staff's pretty dope.
Yeah.
Yeah, from what I hear, she's got like crazy family backstory, which is like the whole like everyone loves her for that.
Yeah. Which I just got to a part where that really got like put to the forefront, to say the least.
I think I know what you're referring to. Yeah.
Yeah, like I just got past that part. I think for me, it's kind of tricky to pick my top 3, but definitely, obviously, Toji is number 1, of course.
Yeah, no question.
I really like Gato, like the real Gato. I
cool.
loved him.
Yeah.
For 3, it's kind of tricky. I mean, I could do a top 5 and say Gojo, Kenjaku, and Mahito, but I can't say spoilers for Oodie. Damn it! Like,
I love how you're doing top 5 characters on a top 3 list.
oh yeah, because I couldn't pick. I like them for different reasons. Kenjaku's growing on me. He's becoming cooler. Gato's still like my man there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think for top 2, like easily, I can pick those 2. And then for 3, it's kind of tricky because I like Gojo a lot. He's really funny. Oh, actually, Aoi Todo is hilarious, but
yeah.
I also just love that Oodie. This isn't a spoil, but the name of his ability is the Boogie Woogie. It's so funny.
Okay. Well, I guess my top 3 characters is, for me, number 3 would be Bonito Flakes guy. Gotta love when he actually speaks real words. Other than, like, I wish he just stayed mute. Other than that, it's sort of, I don't care for the Bonito Flakes stuff. But okay,
Yeah,
he's top 3.
It's kind of weird. I will say it is weird. Not to interrupt your top 3, but like, I understand why they say that, but like, yeah, like, why doesn't he just not talk? Or just not use cursed energy when he speaks unless he needs to.
It's just so impactful when he does speak. Like when he says crush and you see it crush, there's so much weight behind it. I love it.
Yeah, I know. But like...
Or
yeah,
die.
I mean, that's probably
God,
part
that's
of it,
the
but...
most OP one. He's number 3. Sakuna number 2. For obvious reasons. Freaking troll all the way. You gotta love it. It's just easy to bait reactions with him. It's too free. You just can't not do it. And then number 1, I'm the only one in the world who likes him. Jogo. Freaking Volcano Head guy. He's my favorite character in all of JJK.
That too. Ironically, I had a feeling too. I legit was thinking.
Yeah, you had told me that
He's
before.
freaking awesome. I love him. I will say.
I like Mahito the most out of those cursed spirits.
Ooh, that's
Mahito
enough, yeah.
he was goofy. I liked it.
He's like the leader. I think a good runner-up. I don't think she's like top 3 or anything, but like as like a side character, as what's the word? Oh, fuck. When you have like a list that they don't make the list, but you want to include them anyways. Oh, what's the word for it?
Honorable mention.
Honorable mention. Yeah, the girl that has a crush on Gojo. She also has green hair. I forget her name. She's in season 1.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
She's like uppity and
light
nice.
blue in the anime.
It's so wholesome.
She has the sword. Oh, I forgot her name.
Yeah, exactly. She's cool. She's got a sword. Exactly.
I like her. Yeah, she has such a nice personality. Like, I would want to be her friend. Like,
Exactly. Definitely
not
honorable
Misa,
mention.
That's something like similar to that. Close to that. I forgot her name.
I mean, that's why she's honorable mention. Can't even remember her name.
But she's really cool. Nice.
All right, well, now that we got JJK out of the way, I guess we can move on to the intro. So, hey, what's going on? Welcome to the Walky Talky podcast. I'm here with the Kamui, the cantankerous Klutz, and the best power scaler of our generation, Thunder God. All right, yeah, number one, objectively, so he's ranked, he's won every competition, and he'll tell you about that right now. Go ahead, Thunder God.
Man, I did used to debate quite a bit back in the day, but it's just like I just don't got time for it, man. It's like, and I'll be honest, man, listen, but W intro, I'll say that much. It's tough out here. I can't fight everybody. I tried and I failed. I lost. I feel like Batman. I wasn't able to save Gotham, but you know, it is what it is.
Yeah, and man, you have like such a great voice and everything. I'm sure like if you had a YouTube channel or something, that would do really good. Like if you had like 18.9K subscribers with 97 videos, just hypothetically, like if there was a place where you could send people just off the top of your head, like is there a place for that?
I read the post about that stream.
Oh man, that's funny.
Nah, but yeah, definitely got a chance. I'll put the link and the comments for anyone watching, and the title and description, all that. So there you go. Is there a favorite video that you've ever made?
I have a couple, actually.
Ooh, a couple.
I have. There's some, and I've gradually worked towards kind of trying to make like the magnum opus of my channel. Like I'm trying to one up myself now, and just by trying to go for crazier topics, like better editing, stuff like that. This might. Oh, I'm trying to think honestly, realistically. I have to look at this real quick now. Hold up. Now
Yeah.
you put me on the spot. What's your favorite video? Let me ask. I'm curious in your opinion.
Favorite video of yours or favorite video of mine?
Oh, we'll do yours first.
Okay,
I
okay.
want to hear what you're like proud about, and then we can talk about mine.
If I'm going, well, there's a difference between best and favorite. If I'm going my Naruto channel, I think my best video would probably be Wacky versus Battles. It's long, it's got good editing, and it's just funny compared to the other long videos that have good editing that I also like. So I think that's the best one. In terms of my favorite, I think I'm going to have to go with my 2-minute video of the hypothetically strongest character in all of Naruto, just for how funny it is.
Is it Dawn?
No, it's not that. It's if we watched it on stream one time. It was like Kid Choji with like the 8 gates, red pill, Otsutsuki powers. You just give her all the power-ups in all of Naruto.
I know what you're talking about, yeah.
Yeah.
No, she'll die, man. I'd say for me, I have a couple that I really like. I'm a big fan. I mean, I did a video on like Asura's Wrath, which is like a big one because that video took a while, and that was like, I'm like getting back into different verses, so it's very nice to see like, when you talk about a different series, it's good to see good reception for that type of series. But in terms of Naruto, oh man, I've done a lot that I'm very happy with. I might say, oh gosh, I'm trying to think. There's a lot of videos I like.
Well, are there any that you spent the most time on? Any that you would say is like your magnum opus?
Honestly, I will say this. I did a video recently, like the Sonic versus the Akatsuki. I was very proud of that video. I thought that video came out really well. And that's like probably one of my more favorite ones like recently, just because that one I had spent a lot of time on. And I will say it is like fulfilling when you spend a lot of time on a video and it does well, because the reverse can happen just as easily, and you got to be able to take that on the chin. So that one I would probably say I like a lot. But aside from that, maybe like my collab with Suikage, that one was really cool too, just because like I made it, you know what I'm saying? Like I got to do that with that dude. So, you know, I have a couple like that.
All right, fair enough. Kamui, do you have any answers for your favorite video?
God, dude, this is too hard.
Yeah, you talking.
Wait, my top one, okay, the best I can give you is a top 10, let's be honest. I can give you what might be my favorite video because it's just, I thought it was hilarious, and that was my first April Fool's Day video on what if Naruto fought Ada in chapter 69 or something, and I just, it was, the whole thing was just stupid. But my favorite part was when I got to the bonus round with Kakashi versus Ada, and I was just talking about, I was power scaling his true face compared to Ada's, and I was saying that that Ada would just be so attracted to Kakashi that she would willingly want him to use the 1,000 Years of Death jutsu on him.
Oh my god.
And the editing was just really fun. It was just a fun video, the whole concept.
That's like skirting the line right there. Some people on Twitter gonna be mad.
Also, I Gara can't count the 6 video.
Oh yeah, for sure,
Or
you're short.
I mean, there's a lot of videos. Like I said, Oodie, you watched I mean, one of my favorite theories was that Karma Seal wavelength theory that still it hasn't been
Oh
explained.
yeah,
Probably never
that's
will.
a really
But it
good
was
one. I
really
like
cool.
that. Yeah.
Or my hour-and-a-half long time skip hate video.
I think that's your best one, probably. Your code video recently was really good, though. It included all the
I mean, there's just a
screenwriter
lot of
things.
videos. Like, I just think they're good for different reasons. Like,
Yeah, fair enough.
that's the. Yeah. I mean, I don't really know what I would pick.
I know.
David video was my most enjoyed video.
Yeah, your most popular.
135K views. Yeah, everybody wants to hear about Damon's weakness, I guess.
Yeah.
Or my Shibai mythology video was really cool. I don't know, there's a lot of videos I just like. I make videos I like. Or the Sasuke Renegon symbolism video, my only Naruto video so far.
Yeah, I remember your April Fool's video, the one with Naruto versus Ada. I made the thumbnail for that one. Are there any thumbnails
exactly.
that you would say like are your favorite thumbnail you've made? Either because you think it's the best looking, most aesthetic, the funniest thumbnail. What do you think?
Oh, I'm curious about this.
Well, actually, I'm debating on doing a joke thumbnail for one of my next videos with Space Tiger, my thumbnail artist. But for funniest thumbnail, well, yeah, it's either that one that you did or my Utsuki versus Genjutsu video, which was really funny. The thumbnail on that one is Itachi smiling, and he says, "Smile, Ishiki," and Ishiki smiles, and I'm like, "Can this happen?" Like,
Okay.
that one's pretty silly. And of course, I guess yours was funny with the nosebleed thing, but we made it look so serious minus the nosebleed. Those are the only 2 funny thumbnails.
For
Or
me,
just best looking. God, I don't know what the best looking thumbnail would be. Well, most of these are good. Once I start using Space Tiger, these are all good.
for me, I got a few different answers. Any one that has like a sparkle on it that I add to a character, that takes a lot of time. Like I did it for the Daigo stream. And on my channel, I did it for this Madara video. I have a few different versions of it here. I'll put it in the general chat.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So I love those types of aesthetics. But in terms of best thumbnail I've done, I really like the simplicity of my Naruto versus Sasuke one. And just the title of the thumbnail as well. I just think that looks really clean. Like maybe the text doesn't work necessarily with that type of aesthetic, but it's just so basic and clean. I love it. In terms of funniest, I would definitely say, okay, I'm not even gonna say what this is. Kamui, you know what it is. Thunder God, I want you to guess what this is. What is this video that I made?
Is it like why Shrek's a better love story than Naruto and Hinata? Is that what it is?
You're
Or-
really, really close, actually. It is Shrek 4,
Okay.
which is a love story. Why Shrek 4 is the same movie from a screenwriter's perspective as Naruto the Last. Like, beat by beat, they do the same formula, and it's hilarious.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, when Kishimoto said he hired romance people to help with that movie, he really just hired the Shrek 4 people.
Yeah.
But what about you, Thunder God? What's your favorite thumbnail, if you have one?
I have, so I did like, it's definitely, so I did like a video on like Naruto and Sasuke swapping fights, right? Which everybody loved that, and just wearing with that topic. And I was like, all right, it's my topic. I want to redo the video, and I can't because I made the video concept and stuff like that. And I ended up doing like, here, I'll put it in chat. I ended up doing, I can grab this. I ended up running like this, like dual, I ended up grabbing these manga panels and like doing like this background type of thing. And I ended up finding this this image, like I was going through some like manga stuff and stuff like that, but it had Naruto's like blue eye on it. So I was like, all right, I want Naruto to have like his 6 pads. So I had to like go in the manga and like find like a specific version where he like has that eye and it's like good quality, and just like kind of fix it over his blue eye to make it like seem seamless. So this one I like a lot. I think it looks clean, it's simple, and it looks dope.
That's creative. I like that. And especially the manga panels in the background. I love when those are in thumbnails.
Oh yeah. I was just like a big fan, and I'll say this, like I don't know about you guys, but like when making content, like thumbnails are my favorite part of the process. So
For sure.
it's like, and it's arguably like 50% of the video. That's what people click on. That's how to get your product. So I enjoy it the most. So I always like to go hard on. I'm sure. I mean, it's different for everybody. Like what they enjoy most about making videos.
I guess there's a couple different parts.
I wasn't like, I mean, I didn't hate doing thumbnails, but I just knew Space Tiger could just do them better, and it just saved me the trouble. And I'd rather focus on goofy edits. That's like my thing.
Yeah, doing the thumbnails is probably the most fun part. Not most fun, the most creatively satisfying, I suppose. But like the goofy edits I'm able to do that are just so unique, especially in the wacky versus battles. Kamui, I know that you were talking about that just the other night with me and Cole.
Like, that is by far the most satisfying part for me. It's specifically the goofy edits. Like,
yeah, things like just photoshopping Conan's face on top of Baryon mode Naruto to say Baryon mode Conan. It's so stupid, but I love it.
Exactly. Like, there's so many, and like sometimes the dumber it looks, sometimes it's just the funnier it is. Like,
exactly. And that's the favorite part for me of doing videos. Kamui, do you have a specific favorite part of that you've done?
Like, a part of a video? Or...
Sure, yeah. You know, of all videos, is there a single edit you can think back to and be like, that's the one?
Oh, God. I have to rewatch all my videos. There's so many that have just been really funny. I know, like, I built a meme about the guy saying, seriously, you ask why. So that one really, like, hits home for me, because I started that shit. But, or the Conqueror when he says, but how? I don't get it. But, I feel like some of my visual edits have been hilarious. I don't know, dude. There's been too many that I've cracked up watching. And I don't know anymore. Like, I've just forgotten half of them. Because I have, like, a library of funny edits that are just ridiculously long. I have like thousands by now, probably, of just stupid edits that I all like.
For me, I think my favorite, not edit necessarily, but what I like to do, just my style of videos, and you can see it even on this Walky Talky channel. Can I just go to my... Yeah, there's no... Stupid YouTube updated. I don't know how to get to my channel anymore. Okay. If you go to like the shorts on this Walky Talky channel, I don't know how to get to shorts here either. Okay, whatever. It's the video of me like going to go get the haircut for the hair whirl video when the Minato manga came out. And so like the way I start that video of just jumbling the words in a random order, but you know what I'm saying. It's so funny because it's so unscripted, as purposefully bad as possible, because like bad is good in this context. Thunder God, I know you like do a lot of SpongeBob edits. If I were to guess, I don't know, probably one of those would be your favorite, but I don't want to put words in your mouth. What do you think is your favorite?
I've done a lot of SpongeBob edits.
I have also done SpongeBob edits. They're hilarious. It's just prime meme material. I'm not gonna
lie. It's too good.
It's just you'll never run out. That's the hilarious thing. It's infinite. So no, I love this SpongeBob edits. You can just throw text on. It's just hilarious.
Yeah. All right. So there is one thing I definitely wanted to ask specifically you when you're guest on. All right. So you've done a lot of debates. You've seen a lot of debates in the past or whatever, especially a couple years ago. All right. As you know, the debate community, I'm not going to say gets toxic. They do. But more specifically, they can argue in a very disingenuous way, which is sometimes extremely funny. I'm curious if there's any arguments that you've seen used in a goofy way, but like unironically, and it actually worked. So for me... Yeah, so for me, while you think about that, there's a couple different examples of arguments that have actually worked. For example, I argued one time that paper bombs are moon level, and that's scaling past after debating that single point for about 5 hours with someone named Antine, if you remember him, if you know him.
No, I can't say
Yeah. It was the most complex, convoluted debate I've ever had. Specifically, like, okay, staying on one point for 5 hours. It's so stupid.
You got stamina, man.
Yeah. then a few others. Again with Antine, I argued that Gaara is just canonically has always been dead. Like Gaara's just never been alive. Like just canonically, like so. I just that one.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, and then most recently, to be fair, the other person didn't put up much of a fight, but I argued like so. You know how gravity it like falls at the rate of 9.8 meters per second.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was like a 30-minute debate where I just continually used 9.8 meters per second for everything. So Ishiki's cubes, they fall at 9.8 meters a second.
Oh
Naruto throws shurikens at 9.8 meters a second. It's just every argument was that.
And he never argued against it.
Oh my goodness.
I was against
Oodie, you said
Mr.
you
Spiraling.
used the Gaara can't count the 6 argument to like argue he's like low IQ or something.
I haven't done that yet, but I want to use it in the future.
I thought you said you
That's so
did.
good. I haven't used it yet. But Kamui, have you seen any arguments just in general outside of those?
I'm not a debater. So,
Yeah, fair
like,
enough.
I mean, I debate you every podcast, but like I'm not like an official debater. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Thunder God, you got any crazy ones?
I mean, the funniest one I've seen, and this was a while ago. I remember seeing this, but it was essentially arguing like heavy Sasuke versus like Taka Sasuke or something like that. And the semantics of it came down to, I believe it was the fact that like heavy Sasuke was faster because his shirt weighed less, or he didn't have a shirt. Like that's what it actually came down to in the context of the debate. And it actually ended up passing, and the guy won. And I was sitting there, I'm like, what the fuck, man? Like, what is this? But yeah, like I can't recall fully, but I just know like that was like the sticking point. That's where like the scaling was predicated on, which makes absolutely no sense, but that's what happened, you know?
Oh, that's brilliant. I love that so much.
Yeah.
Do you remember the specifics of the argument? Was it because...
No, it was ended up like they were just like the conversation pretty much came to the point where okay, they were so close in speed or like pretty much the exact same. And it just transitioned into, okay, he doesn't have a shirt on, so it's like you would weigh less and be faster. It doesn't matter by how much or something like that. I'm like, oh my god, like it's coming down to the clothing and stuff like that. It was just, and I think it was like it came into where like the Taka Sasuke had the Akatsuki cloak on, so he'd be heavier too. It's just like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, I would think the argument for that would be heavy Sasuke would have his shirt way less because like the V-neck in the front just doesn't exist. Like it just,
That's what I'm
there's just
saying.
less
Yeah.
clothing. Or maybe the fact that it's like white, so the light bounces
also
off
just
of it
comes
instead of
off
absorbs
when
into it.
Heavy Sasuke loses his clothes in
Yeah.
both fights.
Oh,
It
yeah.
doesn't
Yeah.
happen for Taka Sasuke. Like,
Exactly.
Alright. Well,
the
like
Akatsuki
Kamui
clothes
was
is, like,
saying,
blue.
yeah, so like Kamui was saying, me and Kamui go back and forth a little bit. We dabble here and there, get a little goofy, a little wacky with it. There's been a lot of heated
know the
moments in our debates, and we were wondering if you had any thoughts on some of our previous debates, such as me and Kamui have argued about Naruto and Sasuke versus Jigen. If Jigen just didn't leave, and Naruto and Sasuke stayed with the intent of fighting to the death to kill Jigen or they die themselves, who is winning that fight? What do
That's
you
actually
think?
not what the debate was about. The debate was who won the fight. Like,
No, it wasn't.
the debate that we had is, did Jigen or Naruto and Sasuke win that fight? Who won? That was our debate.
Oh, interesting. You're asking me like my opinion on that matter, like kind of like.
Yeah. Who do
So,
you think won the like Naruto and Sasuke versus Jigen?
To
Okay.
briefly recap, clearly Jigen was like stronger or whatever, but not only did he absorb the Tintel's powers, but he just ran out of
Previously
stamina.
before
Like he
joining,
just
yeah.
could not continue fighting, which is why he left in the first place. Whereas Naruto and
But
Sasuke,
again,
they still had stamina.
Well, But again, who won the fight is the question. Before we give points, who won the fight?
Well,
I
we
would
have to
say
give our
it's-
points.
It's interesting. It's interesting because, you know, it begs the question, you know, if Sasuke had enough chakra to use like Rinnegan teleportation again, you know, what could he have done with like other techniques? But then there's the parallel of like Kurama also telling Naruto, dog, this isn't someone you can try something else like on. This fight is over and stuff like that. And the fact that I will say it is interesting because Jigen does go. I believe I don't quite recall if he recovers at all before Kashin Kojin like actually jumps him after the fight. I believe he's like starting to recover. Like he goes to sit down and I believe he's like sub 10% of his
Yeah.
chakras. It's something to that degree. Yeah. So, you know, it's interesting because we just don't know like how much more it would have exerted off of him, or if like Sasuke literally just kicked the rods at Naruto, like we're inside Naruto and whatnot. I would say it's tough. I'm trying to think because it
But
could be.
again, I want to make this clear. The
Yeah.
debate isn't who would have won if they kept fighting. It's who won the fight.
That's not true. It's Naruto and Sasuke versus Jigen, just in general.
Well, no, that's not the debate.
Yes, it is. That's why we're using the hypotheticals that we used the
No,
3 hours we debated this.
Oodie, again, these are separate debates. I mean, we did discuss that separately, but that wasn't the original debate. The debate was who won the fight. Go back and watch. That's how it all started. We then made like 50 different versions of it later. But the original one, the first one, is who won the fight we got? Jigen or Naruto and Sasuke? Who was the victor? That's the first question. Then we'll get into the others.
I mean, man, listen. One of the dudes got sealed after the fight, and the other was unconscious. So hey, man, that's all I'm saying. Jigen did kind of walk away from it. You know what I mean? Like,
no, Jigen won the fight, is what you're saying.
I would say Jigen won the fight. And would probably, he does know it would have taken a little time to kill Naruto and whatnot.
Yeah. So now the question is, separate question. If Sasuke didn't run away, but he didn't escape, and they kept fighting, would Jigen have, like, Sasuke does not run away no matter what. He just chooses not to run away.
Yeah.
Would Jigen have killed them, or would they have killed Jigen? Obviously, he would reincarnate in that case, but ignore that.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting because we don't know how much of like Sasuke's chakra supply is like kind of proportional. It's like the Rinnegan teleportation. We kind of, or like, the portals. We kind of do maybe off like the Naruto one shot and whatnot. But it's a little interesting because if he's not because the whole deal with like them fighting Jigen is obviously like them fighting him, even though he was winning, kind of fighting at that level or like exerting that much chakra, or like however you want to phrase it, pretty much was like fatiguing him. You see like his like stomach crack and whatnot. So I definitely think if it's Sasuke alone, I would probably lean towards no. But if he can like free Naruto and Naruto still is able to fight and like kind of refresh himself, gather nature energy, I think you could make a decent case for like Naruto and Sasuke. I would say I'd say that.
But who do you think? Like, what, Oodie, for the sake of time, let's not like debate this after. Just let him answer and we just roll with it.
Yeah.
Just who do you think would have won?
I'll be conservative and just say Jigen. I'll just say Jigen.
All right, I'll take it. Is that the only fight-related one we've had a debate on?
Pretty much,
Everyone
yeah.
else
All
has been,
the
like,
other ones are
narrative.
just semantics or narrative.
I think the most heated debate we got into was about how bright one of Aaron's transformations was in Attack on Titan.
Okay, so Thunder God, pixel scaling, right?
I hate it. I despise it. It's funny too because I have an editor who I'm working with some of my videos, and he also does like calcs and stuff like that with pixel scaling, and he rips into everybody. Like, you guys know Noodles, and there's like this Bijou calc and stuff like that. He's like, that pixel scaling sucks. It's shady and stuff like that. So it's like, I hate pixel scaling. I think it's very like iffy. I'm not a fan, nor do I like to use it. My bad. Just 2 cents. Keep going.
So
what happened
Naruto's
with that
73
was
times faster
Oodie
than the
was-
Raikage.
Pixel scale.
Ah.
Oodie was trying to pixel scale, and I asked him, okay, what are you doing? Like, explain it to me, because he's trying to prove, like, oh, this one's brighter through his pixel scaling. So I said, okay, what are you specifically looking for? He explains it, and I said, okay, well, that doesn't work, because that only proves contrast, not brightness. And that's how the next, like, 4 hours of debating just went back and forth, where he essentially just, Oodie was like, so you can see the bait start a new one. And I was like, no, I didn't. You were just wrong. That's basically us going back and forth on that. Like,
Yeah, okay, so
like
to
4
clarify what Kamui's saying, we were debating, I forget exactly who had the brightest transformation in Attack on Titan or something like that. That was the point, at least.
Yeah.
Regardless of the debate, that was the point. So I took a picture of like
It was,
2 different
was
transformations that we were
one
arguing.
Transformation abnormally bright compared to the others, and then we were trying to figure out if it was or was not.
Sure. So I took the 2 pictures that we were like arguing which one is brighter or whatever, and I got the hexagonal value number, and I just pixel scaled the difference between those or whatever to prove objectively whichever one was brighter. So I was pixel scaling the brightness.
But then I was explaining why he wasn't actually doing that. He was pixel scaling contrast, and so it didn't matter. It was what I was arguing, and then we just didn't get anywhere from there.
So I think contrast has to do
Yeah.
with brightness, but that's just
It's related, but it isn't brightness itself. It's the difference between two levels of brightness. So if you have a really dark part and a medium brightness part, you can have like a really high contrast. But if you have just two bright parts, your contrast is like 0, but it's still really bright. You see
But
what I'm
as we
saying? That's
know
what I was
through
arguing.
anime camera angles, they use real life camera angles, which means the IPO exposure would still count in terms of contrast, which would play a factor into brightness.
Yeah, but again, though, the point is your pixel scale only demonstrated the contrast differences, which would not guarantee it's brighter. And that's what I was arguing. You kept saying I conceded the debate. I'm like, no, I kept telling you why your argument's wrong. And that's why I got heated, because I was like, no, your argument's just flawed. I'm just dismantling it, and we just never progressed from there.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah.
So something else I've pixel scaled that's also equally as ridiculous, in fact, I'd argue more ridiculous, is the sound of something, whichever was louder, I think, or whichever had a higher pitch. So I started pixel scaling the sound waves. Like, I got Audacity open, like the trough to the peak.
That's funny.
That's actually funny. That's hilarious.
I know. Oh my
Pixel
God.
scale sound.
Yeah. I think that's all the debate things we had planned for that. Do we want to move into wacky versus battle, Kamui, or did you have anything else that you want to discuss first?
I was gonna ask if Thunder God had any versus battle or power scale takes that you think are hot takes. Something that you either think most people disagree with you, or maybe there's a few people who agree with you, but most people disagree with that take. So, for example, Kakuzu versus Pain. Noodles has this famous hot take that Kakuzu wins. Do you feel like you have something similar?
Horrendous take. Absolutely the most. I, for the record, that is probably one of the worst takes I've ever heard in my life. I will say that. On record.
Absolutely.
It's
No
Yeah,
hesitation.
Do you think that's regarded similarly? Maybe not to the same extent. Like, do you feel like you have a hot take opinion?
probably one of my biggest ones. And I have to drop a video on this. I have a video like I'm in the midst of editing a video on this. Probably one that like EMS Sasuke, for example, is way stronger than like anybody like suggests in their videos or anything like that. Like just laying the work. Like people just don't give credit to like he's as strong as Naruto, as like the perfect Susanoo. Anything like that. Like that's probably like a big one that I want to see. I will say like I don't have a lot of hot. I have some like takes that I don't even know if they're necessarily hot. I just don't see people bring up, other creators bring up. Maybe some dudes on Discord would bring up or stuff like that, you know. So that's probably a big one. I have a lot of contention.
Let's hear some of those examples.
Yeah. So like the EMS Sasuke, like I think he's like very close to like Bijou Sagemo Naruto in strength. Like I would still probably venture to say like Naruto's a little stronger. He also does hard counter Sasuke, but I think like they're very close off the Obito stuff. And like
I think a lot of people.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's tough. In the Discords I'm in, a lot of people would be like, "No way, they're not even close." But
Yeah.
there's probably plenty of people that would support Sasuke just outside of the Discords I'm in.
Yeah. It's just interesting. Like and I'll hear like dudes who another one's probably I would say like Tobirama, which I cannot stand his fan base or the Minato fan base. I despise both of them equally, and I like both characters equally. They're just like this is a side tangent, but like because Tobirama was so disrespected on the YouTube scene for so long, now Tobirama fans are just like upset and butthurt by Minato. So now there's never anybody looking at both characters objectively. Like I have yet to go on YouTube and find like, and this is a video I want to do at some point, but like a good like Minato and Tobirama video, because I think that video needs to be like an hour long for you to cover like every basis. And
I want to do it too. Not gonna lie, because I just feel like everyone is so fanboy in one direction or
It's
another.
so bad. It's so annoying. I agree with you, bro.
You lean towards between those two, because that was one of the ones I was curious if you had an opinion on.
For Tobirama, it does. And this is the thing, right? Because there's a couple of hoops you need to come over. I will say, I've always kind of held this opinion. Aside from like Minato body flickering to the battlefield first, or like teleporting there, however you interpret that, because there's some like translation stuff you kind of need to get into, how you interpret the body flicker. I do see Tobirama more comparable to QB Minato, generally speaking. That's just me. I think he's got some impressive showings. But I've reread this section a couple times of the story, and I've been talking to a couple dudes. I've still just stood by the fact though
that QB Minato is above, just more so for the basis, right? Because some people are of the opinion Tobirama's like a blitz tier above Obito. That's asinine to me. That's just super disingenuous. You didn't read the fight. If he really was, the fight would have been over. He would have just been in Obito's face, slapping him around with paper bombs and stuff like that. So no. And I think a lot of people miss Tobirama's characters because, like, you know, a lot of people subscribe to the idea that he's faster than Hashirama and Madara. I think that's fine if you think that. But that still doesn't change the fact that they're stronger for the reason that they have these huge avatars that Tobirama cannot just bolo through. It's kind of a similar position with Minato. Doesn't really have anything for the QB avatar, and the main thing people bring up is like tandem paper bombs. But I think there's a couple things people overlook, like how fast are the tandem paper bombs? They're not really that fast, in my opinion. There's nothing to suggest like they would just like
Yeah, but he's
blow
just
through.
throwing them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's not even placing them.
So it's like it's a lot of hoops. It's a lot of hoops, and I understand like Tobirama fans and their sentiment, and I do think the character is strong. I just think that, you know, at what point are we just kind of taking it too far? You know what I mean? So that's generally my stance. Like I kind of have him
What
somewhere
about when
in
they're
between.
alive? So no KCF for Minato, no paper bombs for Tobirama,
Okay,
like a live version.
That's a little harder. That's a little harder.
I agree, 'cause I think for Edo, I think it's just Minato is just clearly stronger when he's at least focused, not distraught about Obito.
Yeah.
As alive, I think that's where it's more contentious.
Yeah, and I will say even on like the Obito stuff, like people don't point out the fact that the only reason anything happened in that fight was because Tobirama had a mark on Obito. That's literally the only reason. Other than that, they were done. That's the only reason they ever got close to him. So, and I will say alive does hinder Tobirama a lot because tandem paper bombs is the big thing people bring up. That's like the big one. And he pretty much says like it's explicitly for Edo Tensei. I've talked to some people who are under the interpretation he can use it with like dust release. Like, you know, manipulate paper bombs like that. I don't subscribe to that because that's not what the series or data book kind of refers to with the technique.
Dust release as in particle style?
No. So it's like in terms of like paper bomb, like manipulation and like creating more paper bombs. Like, yeah. So, and I don't subscribe to that idea. But just some people like do, and I've heard that take. I don't agree with it necessarily. But
I mean, even if he does, the thing is he gets blown up with it. That's why it's an Edo Tensei jutsu, like, because it doesn't matter.
Exactly, precisely. So that's a big issue. Unless, you know, you say maybe like teleport down and stuff like that. But you know, I always interpreted Minato like generally in lore just being between like KCM1 Naruto and like KCM2 Naruto. Just because like that's the most consistent range. There's higher end interpretations, there's lower end interpretations, but that's just the most consistent range. And I usually say that because nobody ever agrees on it. It's just impossible for me to like, you know, for everybody to kind of have their opinion on it. So it does depend. Alive versus
I would
alive.
agree that KCM2 is surpassing Alive Minato.
Yeah.
The gray area would be like, is KCM1 or Sage Naruto slightly over, or is Minato still a little bit better than that? I think that's the contentious part. I think most people would agree, like, okay, KCM2's beating Minato.
Yeah. I've always been on the interpretation that Minato's above KCM1 in Sage Mode. That's just me. The sub-Sage Mode arguments are super disingenuous in my opinion. It's
I would agree.
It's unbelievably it takes Minato's statement and just runs wild with it. I do not agree with it. And it's just for the it goes back to like the Tobirama prerogative. Like it's the people you see downplaying Minato are the ones who like upscale Tobirama to like, you know, yes, he's impressive, but like to heights that he shouldn't be. You know what I'm saying? Like I've heard debates on like Tobirama versus Hashirama. I'm like, why? What are you talking about?
And like the thing is, you can be disingenuous about both people and be like, oh, well, Tobirama lost to Ginkaku and Shinkaku.
Yeah.
You know, the guys who lost to Garui. It's like, okay, well, that's being disingenuous too.
Yeah,
but you can do it on both.
I agree. Yeah. So that's a big one I see and I want to tackle. I just haven't gotten the opportunity. I'll put it like this: I haven't wanted to put myself within range of fire because once I drop that video, I'm gonna like have my Discord blow up because I'm cool with a lot of Minato dudes. I'm cool with a lot of Tobirama guys. As you can imagine, I'm gonna get kind of like everybody hitting my DMs being like, "Bro, what the fuck?" So you know, it's a little of that, but that's a big one as well. The Akatsuki ranking's also very interesting. I love seeing different videos on it. Because a lot of them are valid, and I will say, like, I'm a big fan of the early Shippuden era, because a lot of characters are like closer in power, and it makes for very interesting fights. It's kind of like Hunter x Hunter, like it's like more tactical and stuff like that.
Yeah,
whereas, like,
yes, no, with you, yes.
Yeah. Whereas like War Art, you know, it's
still there later. There's a lot of
exactly
tactics, like,
yeah.
but
I don't think it's the tactics that
There's
change. It just becomes less grounded to reality.
Yeah, there's more of a power clipping, and I agree with you. Like, these characters just, it turns into some Power Ranger-esque with the Megazords and, like, the avatars and stuff like that, which is, like, it's cool. That stuff is cool, but I do like the whole, like, you know, ninja-esque feel to it and stuff like that.
I also think this one is not, obviously, it's not exclusively the case, but once you get to late shipping in Boruto, again, not always, but
Yeah.
there is less of the whole, use Shikamaru as a perfect example. He catches you, and then he explains how he beat you, essentially, after the fact. Like, you see with Sasuke versus Deidara as another one. There is less of that whole, or Deidara versus Gaara, where they explain, like, oh, this is how I beat your ass. Like, I use this, like, 50-step plan.
Yeah.
There is less of that. It's more just, like, there's a lot more taijutsu, just speed and strength feats, and a little bit less of that whole, like, yo, this is my cool strategy, which I really liked. So I can get with the sentiment.
Well, I will say, I think that's a big problem with, because I like Boruto a lot, but I don't think it's flawless in any, like, you know, I think it's, just like Naruto.
You don't think it's a perfect divine 10 out of 10?
No, I'm not. Like, and my thing is, I definitely, I understand why people wouldn't like it. That's my thing. It's very different from Naruto. It's a lot of the same, but it is a different story. And I do understand the sentiment with how people don't like it. And I will say, like, a big critique I have, aside from, you know, because, like, listen, I'm not the biggest fan of, like, the android cyborgs. Like, that's just me. Not fundamentally, but, like, in my caveman brain, saying that Damon can, like, slap around Three-Eyed Madara and just, you know, it hurts my soul. I won't lie, it hurts my soul a little bit. But I will say, like, Sasuke's representation in Boruto's ones I'm not a fan of. You know, I feel like the character's kind of been getting a little ragged on. And, like, unlike Naruto, for example, who kind of did get to go out on a high note, Sasuke got his eye taken out. So I was like, oh, you know that. But I will say, like, I do like Boruto, and I do like what they're doing with it right now. So, you know, I like parts of it, and there's other parts where I'm just kind of like, I think this could be done better and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Like, for me, I'm really invested in, like, interesting plot lines. Like, for example, I always use Mato as my example. He's just so interesting, and I love it. But I think Hot Boy on our last podcast, or whatever, 2 podcasts ago or something, agreed with us. But I think Naruto is just more consistently, more emotionally driven. The one exception, I think, for Boruto is its parent and child theme. Most of its most emotional moments just are centered around that theme. I think it's the best, in my opinion, the best executed theme in Boruto. Like the Kawaki scenes, the one in the Momoshiki arc with Boruto and Naruto, or multiple of those, like, it's all centered around that same theme. I think they do a really good job there, but I feel like every other scene in Naruto is like hits you in the feels, whereas that's not as much in Boruto. And then the other one is, I do generally like Naruto fights better,
well,
on average.
The problem,
like, Naruto versus Delta to me wasn't cool until the very end, when Naruto used a cool strategy to be here. Like, I didn't really care until that.
The manga washed that. You know, I'm critical of Ikimoto's art, but I do like how he does his paneling, and I think it is good. It's very reminiscent of, like, OG Toriyama and stuff like that. So I do kind of like how he did that. Yeah. Hey, I've been told that too. So it's like that fight I actually really enjoyed in the manga. I thought that was a great fight. And then I was super let down with, like, the anime. And, like, you know, Studio Pierrot has done a lot of good with the Boruto anime. Like, Fairy Mode Naruto versus Ishiki was phenomenal. In my opinion, I just love it.
Naruto versus Sasuke versus Momoshiki, I really like that. That one was just so satisfying to watch. Naruto Sasuke dick on Momoshiki. That's the biggest thing. But Kashi Koji versus Jigen in the manga, I really like that one. It's just all strategy, the entire fight, which I like. But some of the fights, like, or even some of Code's fights early on, I really liked the way he used his claw marks. But, like, nowadays, he doesn't do the thing where he used to do, where he spawns a claw mark on your chest and slashes your throat. Like, he doesn't do that anymore. Now he just teleports behind you and tries to smack you with the claw. And I'm like, I don't like that as much. Not as cool.
I wish he'd get a W. You know what I mean? Like, on top of all of that, you know, I'm waiting for the Code redemption arc. I'm still here for it. You know what I mean? I'm kind of praying for him. So
I'm here for it too, for sure. Nah, people hate on Code way too much. But I think the biggest problem with the Boruto themes, for me personally, this is more of a personal problem, they just aren't relatable to me. Like, the parent-child thing, okay, well, I'm not a parent, I don't have a child. So, like, it resonates with me emotionally, but not on a intrinsic level, because it just doesn't relate to me in that kind of way. So, Yeah, so it's just not as deep, and it's not just a me thing. It's just not as deep as Naruto is because it relates to less people in general because these are more specific themes, whereas Naruto, well, anyone can relate to loneliness, anyone can relate to friends, and so the themes of
I
those
also
series
think,
just apply to more people.
you know, building on that, I also think like just the theme of like friendship and bonds and losing bonds, like Naruto and Sasuke's themes, is just whether you relate to it or not, it's just more gonna hit you in the feels more than freaking scientific and ninja tools. It just
Yeah.
is. Like ninja tools is interesting. It does not hit you in the feels. Like let's be
Well,
honest.
I think the
Like,
parent-child bond that is more tender. It's definitely a lot more deep in that case. It's more
that's why I think
thematically
that
resonant.
most of the emotional scenes just they're centered around or Sasuke
Yeah.
and Sarada when they first meet and he doesn't recognize her. Like, but that's another one. Like every emotional scene is with that theme. Like it just maybe one exception, but pretty much always is, which is why I think that's good. Like I like the emotional scenes in addition to the cool scenes, but it's like the other themes of Boruto. Okay, Destiny can be hitting you in the feels.
Yeah.
I don't think the way it was done though with Momoshiki, the end of the prophecy arc, it did that.
Yeah.
Before we get to that, Kamui, because I know where you're going with that.
I know, well, I'm not gonna go too far, but like,
yeah.
I don't think that one actually hit me in the feels at all, like it could have. So it's like
I definitely want to say
theme I feel like they execute to a T is this parent and child theme, and I think that holds them back.
so I don't think themes necessarily have to be emotionally resonant to work because
They don't
themes
have
just
to,
teach
though.
a lesson. So for example, the scientific ninja tech theme, that's not about morality as much as it is about ethics. So it obviously applies to everyone because there's technology booming across the world today.
Exactly.
We live
It
in the
is
world.
very relatable,
So
but
yeah, it's more about like, is it the right or wrong thing rather than will this emotionally impact you? It's more like a logical debate than it is about like an emotional perspective.
And I agree with you, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I like I said, that's why I said personally, I like a lot of Naruto's themes, and I just think that Boruto could use more of that type of thing. Like Ninja Tool, there's nothing wrong with the Ninja Tool themes. I think in the Owl arc especially, it was really good, or the Momoshiki arc. It was really good in those arcs. Like it actually, especially the Owl arc, it almost did kind of hit you in the feels. Like it was done really, really well.
I would agree
Since
with that,
then, I wouldn't say that's been the case. It's just kind of there, but it hasn't been like the same. What are some other? What were some of the other themes we said were really major? Parent and child, ninja tools, what it means to be a ninja, Destiny.
The Next Generation, if you want to count that. But
Next
that sort of
Generation
goes
stuff,
along with the ninja thing.
Yeah.
Those are really the main ones.
Even when it needs to be a ninja, like it's obviously there in Boruto. I think Naruto did it better though. Like go back to the Land of Waves, like oh my god, night and day, perfection of that theme by
even
comparison.
Like
it's just
like monologue at the end of this series on it's so much different. This character that hasn't spoken for the whole series gives probably one of the most insightful dialogues on like what it is to be a ninja. It's very fascinating. I definitely think that's a big issue. I can definitely understand a lot of people's sentiment with this series and whatnot. Like it has a different feeling that just isn't, and I don't know. I know Kishimoto has like gotten a lot more involved. I just don't. I don't know if it's the villains or what necessarily is like going off and stuff like that. I will say too, I do think the manga suffers immensely for being monthly. And I talked about this before. You cannot create a 700 manga, of Naruto that has all these different unique nuances, storylines, characters, abilities, data books, and then shove it into a monthly manga and then expect like it just to do well. It just doesn't translate well. And obviously, the backlash we've seen is evident of that. So that's also a big one that I think like, and I know the anime is kind of
factors.
Yeah, the inverse of that where they're kind of taking their time as well. So it's like, I don't know. I don't know. It's a little tough to see.
I do feel like, I mean, this is just, I'm spitballing here. I could be wrong.
Ahead.
I do think Boruto has, if you're a big fan of just cool fights, flashy, big power fights, I think a lot of those people actually don't mind Boruto at all because the power level is really high right now. That probably engages them, which doesn't apply to me at all. It's actually the opposite. I don't care too much, but it is the opposite. But I think a lot of people, like, they might actually like Boruto fights more than Part 1 Naruto fights for that reason. That's just an opinionated thing. And I also think, I think interesting plot. Like, I think a lot of this probably does come from a Naruto fan's perspective, but I feel like it's just so easy to be interested in what will happen next, or why does Kawaki end up in the situation he is in that flash forward scene and so on. Like, I think that aspect of Boruto is they excel in, but honestly, it doesn't feel like Kishimoto's in his A game.
Yeah, I will say too, especially when Kishimoto went ahead and dropped the Minato one shot, you could tell there's a difference. There is a stark contrast in quality.
Not just the art, not just the art, but also the emotional feel of the story.
Oh,
like
absolutely.
you can tell.
Yeah, this is one of the reasons I've talked about. I want to hear what you have to say on this, because I'm a big believer in that they should have gone backwards before they went forward, because there was just so much more untapped in Naruto. It kind of makes me wonder why they went forward into Boruto, especially when all these nuanced characters.
Personally, either way, I just want both to happen.
Yeah.
Same.
The order isn't like, as long as it happens. But I will say though, a lot of people have the conspiracy theory that Kishimoto's not actually writing the story right now. I do think the Minato manga adds fuel to the fire because of that, like the things we're talking about, emotional scenes. Well, that's in the Minato manga. Like,
Yeah.
what? So it's like, okay, well, what happened in Boruto then? It does add fuel to the fire. I don't know if I believe it, but
Yeah,
I can see why people say what they say.
Well, I think it's more of a slow burn for Boruto because it's a monthly serialization instead. So there's still even we haven't discussed all the themes. Like there's the theme of, well, what even is peace? Even that's in Boruto because the 5 great nations aren't at war, but we see, especially in the anime, you have like Onoki's not son, but like whatever kid was dying. You have the Funato arc, the civil war there. There's just so much conflict. All these missions are still going on. And sure, there's less, which means like there's less economic thriving based on that, which leads into the technology. But clearly the world itself is still at arms. Like the Land of Silence exists. Hozuki Castle has prisoners. Like there's so many, like even the Sons of Madara in the novels.
What I will say though is I completely agree with you, and that's props to the anime and novels, but that's a knock on the manga because it's never once brought up. It doesn't exist in the manga. We know it from the anime, novels, and so on, which is props to them, but it is a knock on the manga that they don't even talk about it.
Well, what about this?
I can't call it a main Boruto theme when it's not in the manga.
We know,
it's not a main theme.
We know that the Land of Rain is in shambles. It's literally destroyed. In fact, that's the operation of the Kara base in the first place. It's the Kara hideout, and Naruto said he was going to bring peace there.
It's not in the manga, so I can't call it a main
Well, I think it is canonical that is where they are.
It is canonical, yes. But if it's not in the manga, I can't call it a main theme.
But it's canonical, that's why they're there as well.
Again, though,
like we don't see it, but we know it.
Agree with me or disagree, or just dodging it. But if it's that theme doesn't exist in the manga itself, I can't call it a main theme of Boruto.
All right. Then how about this? The free will theme. We know that, especially in the Mitsuki arc. Again, it's a filler, so you don't count. But it's like the biggest indicator of it. No, I know. I'm not done. I'm not done. Hang on, Kamui. But because we see this a lot of places. So the free will theme. What does it mean to be human? What does it mean to have a soul? Well, we know this, especially going in like the androids, the cyborgs with Kawaki and all these other cyborgs with Kara, and especially the Otsutsuki. The Otsutsuki. What does it mean to be Otsutsuki? What does it mean to be a god? And if you add all these things onto you, if you crystallize the planet and all the memory, all the life that lived there, what is that if you consume that? With code especially.
Personally, the way I would have done this argument, I would largely relate it to Ishiki and Kashin Koji's conversation. I know predestined fate is a big one, but also I think will is a part of it, where it seems like Ishiki seems to have this belief that Kashin Koji doesn't have a will of his own. He's just a tool for Amato. Like, he doesn't have a will. He's just a tool. And then he proves him wrong. I would say that aspect. Oh, absolutely. The free will theme is there with like stuff like that. But I want more.
Yeah, but that's just continuing the
way it was
tools
done
theme.
In the Mitsuki arc.
Like, I think the free will theme ties in with the tools theme, obviously, because, like, the point of ninjas being tools is that they kill their free will, they kill their emotions to become ninjas.
Too, but...
Yeah. So, but, like, it is its own theme as well, clearly.
Yeah, and I think just some of the stuff we're talking about, I just think the manga could put more of in it. Like, you could bring that a bit heavier in the manga, focus a little bit less on the flat, like, some of the I don't know how to word what I'm trying to say, superficial stuff, bring a little bit more
Sure.
of the deeper stuff.
Well,
I think that would
even
help, personally.
even Ishiki's line, it's anime only, but it's still I love it so much, and I've talked about this ad
Oh, yeah, I know
nauseum.
what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
why do you shinobi face me, knowing you're going to die? So that's going back to free will, but that's not the free will theme. That's more of like, what does it mean to be shinobi, in my opinion.
Yeah. I
Also
agree.
protecting the peace, but then the
Yeah,
peace theme,
also,
what
like,
is peace?
protecting the next generation and blah blah blah, a bunch of things.
Yeah.
But
But that's a lot on the themes. I know we were just talking about the power scaling, and Kamui, I know you've had problems with this in the past of how you think, and a lot of people do, to be fair. A lot of people think that the Boruto fights are just, all the fights are like weaker in comparison. They just look downscaled, the smaller explosions, less environmental damage.
Yeah, like, just to clarify, it's not that I think Damon, I'm not, no offense to Daigo, he seems to objectively think like Damon is weaker based off these feats. I'm aware that he's not. I'm aware that he's freaking like the strongest dude in the world. But when you're used to how it was done in Naruto, it's in the Naruto verse. It just doesn't sit well with me. I know why Kishimoto did it, by the way. I'm fully aware of it. But it doesn't really sit well with me to see this weird downscale that doesn't really fit with Naruto before. Even like a good example is Naruto and Sasuke versus Momoshiki in the movie versus the manga and anime. It's just like, I felt so proud of Naruto and Sasuke seeing what they were capable of, and Momoshiki felt more menacing seeing this greater destruction. But then when it's downscaled in the anime, it just doesn't feel as good to me. I don't like it as much.
I disagree, because that's the argument they're using against the war arc. You're saying part 1 Shippuden was better because it was more tactical and more strategy, and there was a lot of that in the Momoshiki fight in the anime.
Again, though, I'm not done. So, the point is, this is in the context of end of Shippuden already happened.
Okay.
If you wanted to avoid it, just make them less powerful in general, is my thing. So, let's say end of Shippuden happened. And Naruto and Sasuke can just lose their 6-pass power-ups. They don't have to keep them for any reason. Like, they can just lose them. Make them weaker, then you don't have to have as much damage, because...
You're cutting out, Kamui? Hello? Oh, never mind.
Oh, sorry. Someone called me.
Okay, you're good.
Anyway.
Yeah. Well, I think, quickly before you continue on, I think to be fair, there is a reason to say that they can keep them. You're not going to like it, but I think they earned their power-ups. So, just everything they've gone through, their trial and tribulations, it's just a reflection of that. It's almost like a symbolic scar.
Sorry, hold on.
Or like a reward.
You cut out for me for a second.
Well, I'm saying that it's like a reward that they earned, rather than something that you can just artificially take away. Hello? Thunder God, is this on my end or is this on his end?
Absolutely.
No. He was cutting out too. Don't worry.
Okay.
Oh, wait. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're good.
I'm assuming no.
Yeah, hello? Can you hear us?
We can hear you, bro.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hello?
Okay, so maybe he can't hear me. I'm just going to leave and rejoin.
Like I said. Hold on. Are you hearing me?
Okay. I think we're good.
Okay. I would say, okay. I completely agree. One of my favorite things about the Naruto and Sasuke versus Momoshiki fight, especially in the movie, is that rewarding feeling. I don't feel that rewarding feeling, though, when you downscale the power. You know, either way, at that point, I don't feel the reward. So, you could have them lose the power, train their way back to where they were instead of becoming stronger. They still made it on their own without the 6-pass power. Another way you could approach it, there's a lot of different things. Like I said, at the end of the day, if you want to downscale it, you pick your poison. For me, at least, though, I'd rather them just straight up be less strong than look less strong than they are. It's just not my thing, especially given that they literally nerfed them later on in the story anyway. Like, they already did the nerf, so might as well just start with the nerf. Like, I don't care. Like,
well, for me,
use up all their power in the Momoshiki fight to be Momoshiki. Instead of Baryon mode, you make a Tail Beast fusion mode. He uses up the last of his Tail Beast chakra, to beat Momoshiki. Sasuke does some wacky thing too. They lose their 6-pass power but they were able to defeat this guy who's supposed to be stronger than Kaguya. But then you have this Ishiki guy who just make him weaker than Kaguya, but he's a big threat because Naruto and Sasuke lost their powers, for example. But like they did with Code. You know, there's a lot of ways you can approach it. It's just, again, this is an opinionated thing. I just, you know, and obviously going back to Naruto, just don't make the explosion level that big. Don't make the power level that high in the first place. Problem solved.
For me, I don't necessarily care what it looks like power-wise, as long as I know how powerful it is. So, for example, if Naruto uses KCM against Delta, well, that doesn't demean or devalue the form if it looks like he's not getting much more powerful against Delta. What that does, it upscales Delta. It makes her feel more powerful, in my opinion. The same thing with Damon versus Code. I don't look at that fight, and I don't dog on Code for losing. I look at Damon, I'm like, oh my god, he just beat Unlimited Code.
Yeah.
Because we know how strong he should be.
I look at how, because, like I said, I know Damon is ridiculous because of what it's told. You know, like I said, this opinionated thing, like I said, like, I take it and run with it. I don't care much, you know, I'm used to it at this point. But, yeah, I don't know, I feel like I'm exhausting my points.
I mean, it'd be nice if we just got more explanation with it in general. That's the biggest problem. Like the war arc, they just don't explain things like they did earlier on. They just sort of blitz through it all, which leads us as minimal explanation as possible. Like, we still don't know necessarily how Baryon mode itself functions, and that's like the climactic answer to that entire longest best arc in all of Boruto. So
yeah,
it's crazy. But even like things with like Naruto and Sasuke versus Jigen, oh well, it looks like they're nerfed. Well, because they're not using ninjutsu, which Jigen could just absorb, making him stronger and them weaker anyways. I don't think that's necessarily a good argument, considering we already know through Momoshiki that like taijutsu works against them.
I'll use like this one example, and I'll offer a counter for why maybe he didn't use it in the first place. So, I think the big one is for Naruto, boil release. He's probably not just gonna absorb boil release. Kage never did that. Like, it's why not try it, right? Like, why the hell not try it? That's why people get pissed off. An argument you can make is that the same reason he doesn't use it at the end of Shippuden. If he does, he'll run out of that tail beast chakra. Like, he just doesn't have an unlimited amount. If he uses up, it's gone, and he'll lose 6-pass age mode and the tail beast chakra, and he won't be able to meet with Kokuo. You know, that would be a reason. That makes sense. If that is the case, though, they should have had a line about it earlier on.
Exactly.
Why he wouldn't do it.
So this doesn't counter your argument. If anything, it actually bolsters it. Again, this is going back to what I was saying. We didn't get that explanation, which I think we should have. Yeah.
Like, if you want to do that, it's, like I said, it's totally cool. Just have a one line is all you need. Sasuke, why doesn't he absorb ninjutsu when he should? Make up a bullshit reason. Just give us a reason.
Yeah,
that's all we ask.
It's
like that's all you got to do.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's as stupid as he literally can't. Just say it.
I do think they shouldn't repeat things. Like, they shouldn't repeat, oh, he'll absorb our ninjutsu, we gotta use taijutsu against him. Like, that's the exact same thing they said against Momoshiki. But they could have said, I can't use boil release because he'll shrink it, or something. Like, I can use that as my justification, but we just don't get that stated. Well, not that exactly, like, not on the nose.
Boil release.
I think it's possible.
Like, he doesn't shrink KCM, so...
Yeah, just because he doesn't mean he can't. But, yeah. Because he's still playing with them at that point.
Probably not. Okay, but he doesn't shrink Baryon mode either, so at that point, I don't think he's shrinking boil release.
That's fair. I guess so, yeah. It's a new form of chakra, but you could say same thing, I guess. It's whatever.
Even then. But yeah, it's like, and that's just, I think a lot of stuff for Boruto, it's just add the sentence of explanation we want. That's all it takes. Don't leave us in this weird, what the hell mode, where we're just like, huh? Like, just do it.
So we've discussed this before. This is where Thunder God, I especially want your opinion on. The scale of the battle feels lesser. It feels scaled down just because of, in my opinion, AP versus DC. So it's a new series. They're able to do what they want. So it is consistent for Boruto, even if it's quote-unquote inconsistent for Naruto. But through chakra control, they're just making the attacks more condensed in a way. So it's not less powerful because there's not less environmental damage. In the same way Dragon Ball, there's not the Earth's blowing up every second. But
that is what's happening. But again, add a little explanation. Have Naruto say, hey, I don't want to destroy the village, so I'm going to be more contained with my damage output.
Well, he does say that against Momoshiki, but he doesn't say that every time. But again, I don't think he needs to repeat that.
Well, he doesn't really say. He doesn't say that though. He just says like, Sasuke says he could easily obliterate that thing, the thing, but that would explode and destroy the village. So he's just gonna literally just tank the attack.
Which, by the way, is
a little
something
bit
Mello
different.
completely ignored. Just wanted to throw that in there.
Oh, wait, what happened with Mello? What's going on?
No, he's good. He's good. He's chilling. Don't worry.
But
He thinks Kaguya's stronger than
They always
Ishiki.
say, "Oh, we can go all out here," but like again, maybe add a line saying, "Well, even then though, yeah, he's controlling his damage, but like, just say it. Like even if when he's fighting Jigen, he's not controlling his damage to avoid destroying the Leaf Village during another dimension. So if he's still controlling his damage, add an explanation. Say that, hey, we've trained to contain our power output and focus it more, which is better for fighting." Just fucking say the one sentence and I'll move on.
Yeah. All right, so
That's
Thunder
all I
God. So all right, so here's where we get Thunder God in on this. I guess 3 different questions for you. How do you think Boruto characters stack up to Shippuden characters? How would you describe AP versus DC? Is this all justifiable to you? How do you think the power output should be handled, etc., etc.?
Yeah, I mean, so Boruto versus Naruto, I mean, the power clipping is just unbelievable. Like, Shippuden is just, it's unfortunately not even close. And it's just become, like, a byproduct of, like, everybody being stronger than, like, you know, comparable to, like, Jigen, who, like, slammed adult Naruto, and Sasuke, who can, like, slam Shippuden on their own. So it's just, like, it should become this thing. Like, probably the most smoked up topic is, like, you know, Momoshiki versus, like, Kaguya. If it's base Momoshiki, sure. I reserve that Fused is objectively above Kaguya, but if you want to say base, sure. But yeah, no, the power clipping is just bad. And I will say, I think that's also like a small reason why it bothers a lot of people is because like you have a lot of these children just power clipping all these adults who you've seen kind of go through these tribulations and trials. So, you know, I think that's a small thing. So, I mean, yeah, it's just like Boruto just, it's a different, it's like Dragon Ball Super to DBZ. It's just not even close. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, they just are way stronger. It is what it is. Like,
Yeah.
like it or not, take it and run with it. You know,
The faster you
Kinda how I
accept that
am.
pill, yeah, like it's just easier to swallow and stuff like that.
like
It
it's
just
like
become
I
a lot.
don't love the fact that you know Naruto gets nerfed and then Boruto and Kawaki have this ridiculously insane power up in like the same arc, but I've been taking it and run with it. Like you know,
Yeah, it's just kind of like if you just kind of like accept it, I will say it does help your enjoyment of the series a bit more. Instead of just being mad every chapter that like
Exactly.
everyone's stronger, which is I've tried to do because you know the series is gonna be around for another couple years, to be honest. So you might as well buckle down and get comfortable with it as it stands
yeah,
and
it's
stuff
just like
that.
you know, look at the bright side. That's what I do. It's just okay, yeah, that sucks, but there's these other things I like about it, and I'm just gonna focus on that. Like
Yeah,
that's why I
yeah.
focus on the interesting things I do like about the story,
Agreed.
and I have an opinion about other things, but I don't focus on it too much. Like even the time skip, you know, Oodie and I, his biggest nemesis. It's like I like the meme about it at this point more than anything. Like that's really all it is.
Yeah, and I believe he asked the follow up was like my opinion on AP and like DC in reference to Boruto.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's always that's a big thing for a bunch of verses like AP and DC, and obviously a character can have more DC, like than another character, and like the other character would still win and stuff like that. I'll give you an example. Just aside from Boruto, and then I'll bring it back. Like video games, that's a big one. I don't know if you guys have scaled any video games, but that's like a huge thing. Like like a lot of games like Devil May Cry, very grounded. You wouldn't think these characters are like 6-dimensional, crazy, like multiversal, just due to like the fact that there's no real destructive capacity in the games. Like they're not destroying anything; they shoot bullets. But it's there and it's present. And I will say, like, I don't necessarily, I think that's fine in Boruto. And I believe Kishimoto even mentions in an interview like that he actually wanted to tone down the fights so that
He
they were
did, yeah.
closer. Yeah. So he mentions that in an interview and whatnot. So I'm fine with just the AP going up. I generally prefer a balance where like the AP can keep going up. I just do want to see some destruction. I'm not gonna lie, especially when you have all this crazy stuff. I think it does kind of set the scale for how strong these characters are. So when you almost tone it back down, it's a little weird. I understand like why. But if, for example, if the characters are in another dimension, because I know you guys were mentioning that earlier, it'd be cool to see stuff blown up. Like Momoshiki, for example, is out here just yelling the God Tree, Chibaku Tensei, like shooting all this stuff out. It's very cool. It's a bit of a spectacle, which I think people do like to see with these stronger
Especially in
characters.
the movie version.
Yeah, oh, the
Like,
movie version, I like both fights for different reasons, but the movie
Yeah.
version just showed like the strength and speed of the
Exactly,
characters
and I
so
love
well.
it. It felt so rewarding because
Yeah.
of it.
So I definitely agree with that. But I always like a balance. Like I'm at, when there's a satisfying of DC, it just makes the story more engaging. And I will say that's like transfers over to the kids and whatnot because you see a big explosion, everybody's like, whoa. So that's my opinion. But I think like the AP going up is fine. And then I know you guys were mentioning that like maybe it doesn't need to be explicitly stated every time, which is fine. I do think in this context of Boruto, that is why they kind of hop over to different dimensions, so they can kind of like skip over that. But even then, if you're in a new dimension, there's no like and obviously time constraints, monthly manga, but there's no reason you can't show like mountains getting split in half or something cool like that. Come on, you know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
do like
Yeah,
to
like
see
there's
that.
no village at risk.
Yeah, like,
you know.
like say what you want about Kishimoto, he did devote a good amount of time to that. Even when Naruto and Sasuke were fighting, dude, like he literally gave panels to just show the shockwave of like their clash, to just give like scale to it. So I think like when you have stronger characters and even characters who aren't worried about the village, like the Otsutsuki, and that you don't display this, I can understand maybe how like some people can see them as weaker and whatnot. So I like a balance. Obviously the AP's up, but I do like to see some destruction.
And I will say, like, using Ishiki or Jigen as an example, their thing, obviously, like, it's a little bit different for Ishiki. Like, his thing is, like, stabbing you with chakra rods or making a cube fall on your head or
Yeah.
just being really fast and strong. Okay, he's a hacks fighter. His thing is these abilities. Okay, but, what about Delta? It's just punches and kicks. It's like, okay, well, now it's just, like, just mix it up. Have one character, like Momoshiki was more of an explosion guy. He releases the jutsu explodes, but be a little bit more varied with it, maybe.
Yeah.
Because, again, Damon, I know Damon is ridiculously strong.
It doesn't
But he
feel
would
that
feel
way.
more menacing if he blew up the whole house with a punch.
Yeah.
He would feel more scary. He would. Whether I know he's the same strength or not, he still feels more scary if he does more damage.
I agree.
Like,
I agree. Like Pain blowing up the Leap Village, that was crazy. Like that was just such a crazy scene.
Imagine if he just blew up one house. It's just not the same. Like,
Yeah, and it's a big issue. So I definitely agree with that notion. And I'm like I'm sure a bunch of people have a similar critique. And that's not everything in a story, obviously, but when you're on kind of like a linear power progression, kind of like Dragon Ball, even Dragon Ball Super, regardless of I don't know if you guys have seen it, like regardless of your stance on it, it did make a point to like kind of display that. And like certain, like for example, there's a fight that happens in a tournament that's in a void. They pull no punches with that. They just they go crazy with it. So it's like with these types of power progressions, I do like to see stuff like that.
So, to give an example for Ashiki or Code, Ashiki gets much less hate than Code, but even there's some haters. So, Kawaki in the anime actually has a nightmare, or even in the anime, Jigen threatens to, like, just blow up the village with a chakra blast or something. Maybe have him actually do some of that while he's in the village before they go to another dimension. Like, add a little bit more damage and stakes for Code. Okay. I know Code doesn't have, like, explosion abilities, but, like, have his claw grab just, like, wreck shit. Like wreck the village a little bit. That will make people hate Code less. They'll feel a little bit more menace from him. I don't think there's a problem with that. It's literally adding to the stakes. If he's not just attacking a couple people, like, literally have him just start wrecking shit. Like, I think people would like it better.
I agree. It definitely like feels down and I think this also is a byproduct of the Boruto characters. There's kind of like, I don't want to say there's only a few relevant ones, but the ones who can kind
There's
of
only a few relevant.
yeah. In terms of like who can directly like impact the plot, influence it and whatnot, which also does scale everything down as well. So I think that is a problem too. You don't really have that many characters to work with. There's literally like, what is it? Ada, Damon, Boruto, Code, Kawaki, maybe like Sarada, but again, she's not gonna be that relevant in terms of strength.
And it's like, and that's the thing. It's like, okay, so Ada and Damon are just too strong. Code and Boruto and Kawaki are also too strong.
Yeah.
And then maybe we got Mitsuki and Sarada. Maybe if we're lucky.
Yeah.
And okay, Shikanai, he can do something like emotionally, related to Himawari or Shikamaru or whatever as a friend. But in power-wise, no. Code would kill him instantly, and it's not even close. There's
Yeah.
no thing. I mean, yeah, you can put him in shadow possession, sure, but the power gap is just so huge.
Yeah.
It's just, what is he supposed to do? Like,
Yeah.
and then you make that worse. What's Nishi supposed to do? You know?
Yeah, yeah. You know, I think Naruto had a similar issue in the war, but even then, there was enough
Late
characters
war
there.
though, like really
Yeah,
late war.
And even then, it's like Naruto versus Sasuke. People wanted to see that anyway, so they didn't even have an like inherent problem with that.
And like obviously Team 7 at the end.
Yeah.
Oh, come on, bro. You knew that was happening. Like,
Yeah. So I think it's just, you know, a byproduct of the story. And, you know, I'm hoping it'll change. Like, maybe this is kind of, I don't like that it's kind of setting up for the burden to do. I think this is just something you should be able to do. But I think
You cut out a little bit. Can you repeat that?
Oh, yeah. I
I
was
thought
saying
it was
that.
just me.
Oh, yeah. So, no, I was saying, like, the whole, like, thing with the few characters. It's, like, unfortunately, that just kind of falls to the anime to kind of, like, fill in the blanks and whatnot and, like, pick up the pieces. Which, you know, is unfortunate, but it's a monthly manga, so.
Yeah. Which actually I'm fine with. I'm fine with the manga's pacing being as fast as it is, considering it's monthly and the weekly anime is obviously weekly, as long as they actually do fill in the gaps. But the problem is the anime, they'll do the anime only content, which again I'm fine with. But then when they actually cover the manga content, they also blitz through it at the same speed.
Agreed.
They don't cover in the gaps.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, as it is, I'm already like, I'm a little bit more strict about this, but there's a lot of things that the anime does that I'm like, bro, that should be in the manga. I don't care if it's monthly. That should be in the freaking manga. Car actuation arc, my favorite pick. It's like, that shit should be in the manga. I don't care if it's monthly. Put that shit in there. But then, like, yeah, like I said, sometimes, though, yeah, the freaking car arc, they blitz through that shit. Yeah, they added a couple episodes for Boru's Call, but, like, they could have done so much more expansion. But it's the problem is it's not the anime's actual job to do that. It's their job to just adapt the manga. So the only way to guarantee it's in the anime is if it's in the manga. So put in the manga. If it's that important, it should be in the manga.
Actually, that's a really great question that we've talked on before, Kamui. So Thunder God, is there any filler that you think deserves to be canon? For me, what I always go back is in the war arc, you get Edo Tensei Hayate, and you get to see him meet and fight his girlfriend. That's most tragic. It should have been in the manga. You can take out Sakura nursing the white Zetsu fake Neji, because that's in the manga. Just take that out and replace it with Hayate. So much better.
Yeah, I definitely a big one I had was I actually did like the Utakata filler arc. I thought that was kind of interesting, just kind of diving
especially
into
the pain versus Utakata part.
Yeah, exactly, and I definitely think because you know the Edo Jinchuriki didn't get the most limelight when seeing that. So, and I understand that maybe like might not fit split into the story, but I think a part of that is also I do like the hit and miss a lot, so that kind of like got mixed in with that. That's so that's probably the big one I would say. A lot of the other filler though, I mean, I can just live without, to be honest.
I think the Three Tails arc can work if you just sort of take out most of it or rewrite most of it. But there's a lot of moments in there that definitely I think should have been in. Like the Toby and Datara moments, especially for how funny they are. But then Datara capturing the Three Tails. And you can have a little bit of the Crystal style with Gurren or the home theme of that arc. I think that all could have worked very nicely.
Yeah. I mean, there is
especially since there's Orochimaru involved.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is that Toby and Datara scenes, regardless of what arc it's in, that should have been in the manga.
Yeah.
I also think Kakashi Sensei's True Face episode. Oh boy, that should have been in the manga. You can't change my mind. Mecha Naruto, change my mind.
No, God.
More serious ones though, I think I would have modified it a little bit, but the sound for Edo Tensei,
that's what I was going to say.
That in manga. I would modify things. I would make it because, as we know, they technically were nerfed going into their one-on-one fights. Like they fight some Jonin, then they fight and then in some cases they fight a third person after. Just make it to where it's sometimes let's use Sakon and Ukon. They were just being stupid when they lost. Like they didn't lose because they were too weak. They just literally just were being cocky. Like that's why they lost. So for some of those characters, it's just like, okay, well, now they're not tired and they're not going to be cocky this time. So they're just going to be stronger and then have some cool moments of the retrieval team fighting them again. But this time they beat them on their own.
Yeah.
That could have been cool. Like, instead of the whole vengeful curse mark thing, okay, yeah, I wasn't a fan of that. I'd just rather them just be that strong.
I mean, the idea of the Edo
Like,
Tensei is
Kimimaro,
essentially for the nostalgia anyways. Like you said, like Kimimaro, they're bringing back all these legacy characters. You might as well use them, because that's the point of bringing them back, especially right before the ending in the final arc.
Exactly, and I was going to say for Kimimaro, there is no filler.
Kamui, you're cutting out again.
He's in the Kamui dimension.
I don't get a lot of Wi-Fi over there. I think the Sound 4 especially can help for the finality of it all. Going into the final arc. It also, because the Konoha 12 are about to be relevant with like the Naruto giving them the chakra cloak and all the things they do in the work, it helps to build up where they currently are, considering we haven't seen them for like all of Shippuden up to this point, pretty much.
Yeah. I would say, too, I was surprised that Naruto did not have a run back with Kimimaro. I was actually like, baffled that never happened, just due to how much of like an animal it was.
Kind of did, but not really.
It happened
like,
off screen,
on-screen,
but not
I feel
really.
like the fact that Naruto, even in the anime, can have a filler fight with Torine, Hanzo's aide, but not Kimimaro is like inexcusable to me. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
Like,
the filler
Agreed.
fight against this freaking weather girl that they made up.
yeah, it's actually
who are Oodie?
unbelievable.
Yeah, no, you
Weather
don't.
girl,
Yeah.
and they
I
couldn't do
know.
Kimimaro. You know why? It's because they knew that if they did, Kimimaro would solo. That's why.
100%.
Good, but
Omnipotent, stated in the data books by an omniscient
probably
narrator.
one of my biggest rewrite things is I want that Kimimaro like Edo Tensei fight. Like I don't care. You can't change my mind.
I
That
have a
should have been in
question for
there.
you guys.
Yeah.
'Cause, you know, I hear you guys talk about like narratives, themes, and stuff like that. You guys seem very intelligent in that regard. What's your guys' thoughts on Daigo Knight's rewrite? I've heard a lot
All right.
of good things about it, but I don't know if you guys have an opinion on it.
Well, Thunder God, we actually did a podcast with Daigo Knights, and that was one of the topics we covered. So just to keep it
okay.
brief, I think you should definitely go check out that, especially that part of that stream, but go check out the full stream if you want to hear Daigo talk. It's actually, unironically, one of our best streams. Like, we had a lot of really interesting conversations on there. Like, we made a conversation about choji interesting. The themes of choji, and it's one of our more interesting conversations on the entire podcast. That's crazy. So I definitely think that's one of our most underrated podcasts. Unironically, most overrated, considering it has the most views. But but to keep it brief, I think, because I'm a screenwriter, I went to college, took a lot of screenwriting courses, and I've just studied it in my free time. I'm writing my own series, all these different things. So I've been a screenwriter for a couple years, and so my thoughts on Daigo's rewrite, I told him this, and he kind of agreed. He said he's never heard that before. It's an interesting perspective, that his rewrite isn't a rewrite. He's writing an original story that takes place in the Naruto universe during the timeline with the Naruto characters. So he's not changing the story per se. He's just making a new one and almost kind of just making it fit, but like outside of the bounds of the story itself. Like, he's using his own themes, his own narrative, and he's not rewriting it. He's essentially writing like a fan fiction, but like trying to make it rewritten, or calling it that, to like make it in a way to where it could have been canon. Like, it's a hypothetical, yes, but it's not a rewrite.
I mean, it is a rewrite. It's just in a different way, I would say.
I've heard
It's a more
very good
drastic
things-
rewrite.
I've heard very good things about it. I don't know if you guys have watched it. Like, what would you rate it if you guys have seen it? Do you think it's good?
I haven't
Do you
actually
think-
watched it yet.
Yeah.
I know Oodie said I would like one part in particular about Dosu, but I haven't watched it.
No, he has a lot of
Those
great
are
moments in there,
Go.
but it's not consistent. I don't think it's very long. I haven't seen all of it, obviously. From what I've seen, it's fine as a story on its own. I think it'd be, if anything, I think he's putting so much effort into this. He just should have never gone with it from the Naruto angle in the first place, and he would have just had a fine standalone story, because the story does stand on its own. It doesn't need to tie back into Naruto. He could have just, instead of Naruto, it could have been a story about Tony Batoni could have been the main character's name, and then just change it all up, and then it's its own story. He doesn't really have to change much besides that.
Though, I think he would have gotten a lot of hate for copying a lot of Naruto if he did that.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I mean, people are pretty relentless on like the YouTube stuff like that.
I mean,
so
but again, I mean, he's obviously tying it into Naruto, keeping it as close as possible to it from his perspective. But if he just slightly goes against that, again, the story does stand on its own, and he has entirely different themes. Like, if anything, instead of copying Naruto, people would say he's being inspired from Naruto. So it's flipping it from that negative to a positive.
I mean, it depends on the person how cranky they're gonna be about it.
Well, like
I get what you're saying.
for
But,
example,
like, if he's like copying all the Naruto jutsu and of Naruto characters, it's like they're like, bro, this is literally copying Naruto.
well, yeah, but he would
So,
just obviously like again, like he wouldn't just have those things be the same. Like he would just do a little bit more work to have his own power system or whatever. Like he'd have his own world building.
Could do that, yeah.
Yeah. But like for example, a good example of this is Thunder God. I'm sure that you've seen Dragon Ball and you've seen Boruto, obviously. And people say that Boruto has taken a lot of concepts, especially from like the Android saga of Dragon Ball. And but that's not like used in like a negative light. That's not used to insult Boruto as a series or anything. It's used in like a positive light, saying like, oh yeah, that's really cool. I love how they're calling back to this Dragon Ball scene. This is inspired from Dragon Ball. That's awesome.
Yeah, I definitely and I will say I agree with that because I think there is a difference between like taking inspiration and copying something. I think that's what you were definitely definitely implying there. But because nobody really nobody's going around saying Boruto's copying Dragon Ball. At least what I've seen. I've never seen that take.
Yeah, I've never seen that either.
Yeah, maybe Twitter somebody somewhere, but I definitely think there's a difference in whatnot. So it's interesting because I just hear so much about it. I just never have sat down and watched the rewrite, right? Also, because my attention span just won't allow me to sit down for 3 hours and listen to that video straight. But it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean Naruto's already good enough. It doesn't really need rewritten. There's a couple things where you could spice it up here or there, but
like there's some things like I don't think we need to get into it this pod, Oodie, but like we've discussed a couple rewrites where there's some small things that like, oh, this could have been cool, but it's not even necessarily saying like this is better. It's just like, oh, well, this could have been a cool. Like I'm gonna make one out my boy Dosu. Nobody's gonna care. But there's like a couple rewrite ideas I had for Dosu that just would have made me happier because I like Dosu.
They fumbled him in the story. I was saying, I agree. I think he's very cool.
No, exactly, dude. Like Dosu's freaking cool. And so, like, just keeping it brief, I would have had him actually fighting in the Konoha Crush arc. We're going to give Neji some shine, though. He's actually going to do something. You're going to get Gentle Fist versus the Sound Fist, and it's going to be a dope-ass fight. And, like, you can extend Dosu as far into the story as you want, really. The problem is, how do you kill him after that point? I don't know. Dosu's too cool to kill. Like, I don't want him dead.
Well, since Kamui's talking about Dosu, I'm talking about Kimimaro, my favorite character. I'm curious, Thunder God, who's your favorite character? And also, coincidentally, if it's not a coincidence, I don't know, are there any characters you think are drastically underrated that's like really up there for you as like pretty much your favorite character?
Oh my god.
Like Kimimaro or Dosu?
It's interesting.
Well, Dosu's not my favorite character.
No, I know, but like you think he's probably like the most underrated character in Naruto, probably.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's tricky. I have to think. He is severely underrated.
It kind of ranges from like part 1 to part 2. I will say on like pre-Shippuden. Pre-Shippuden, I'm a big fan of Gaara. In part 1, I like Gaara a lot. I think he's very interesting in the story. I definitely think he's very cool. I like the energy he brings to part 1. I like how he foils Naruto. I think there's a lot of good stuff there. In Shippuden, because I'm doing a reread right now. Every time, Itachi's on screen, I just find myself captivated by him. And I just think he gets more impressive with a reread. So I'd probably say like those two. And then like my other favorite aside from those two is just always Sasuke. Sasuke's always been peak to me. Even growing up, he was my favorite. And then like after reviewing the story, I like him more. So those are a couple of my favorite ones. But honestly, like my favorites always change because I like a lot of characters for different reasons. Like obviously there's so many like W characters, but I'll probably say those underrated characters. That's interesting. That's an interesting one. And when you say underrated, is that just like in terms of the story? Yeah.
I would say the way I would describe it. Okay, for example, I don't think you can say Itachi's underrated. Like
I think
he's
almost
just
overrated,
very
unironically.
rated. Like everyone knows he's amazing. So I want to give my examples of a couple that I just thought of now. But like someone you don't feel like they either get hated on or they just do not get talked about, but you think they're actually really cool or there's something about them really impactful. This is probably how I would.
Especially, I would also
frame that.
use screen time here. If they should have got more screen time or didn't get a lot of screen time in general.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a good answer.
Alright.
Then. Yeah. So but I actually like Kabuto a lot. I feel like they could have done a little bit more with him. I actually really liked his dynamic in the work, and I would have loved to see more of him. His contrast to Obito and how he wanted to become somebody, whereas Obito wanted to be nobody, and like how that factored into the finale of the work with pretty much like Kabuto ended up assisting Sasuke, Obito ending up assisting Naruto, and like how that pretty much culminated and whatnot. And I definitely would have loved to see Kabuto and more insight into that. Aside from the 3 chapters we got with Itachi, I understand why it happened that way, but there was a lot of buildup for Kabuto, and even in part 1, he was just this very cool constant force that was like built up really at part 1, Shippuden and stuff like that. Like he's he's in the background, something's happening, and I'm not gonna say it was lackluster because I did like the concept. I just would have liked to see more of him. So
Actually,
yeah.
glad you said that. So because I've always said okay, when it comes to Kabuto, he's one of my picks for underrated characters.
Yeah.
Okay, specifically the whole thing with him and Orochimaru, where it's like he's Orochimaru's #1 bodyguard, but he's also like, if anyone's gonna kill Orochimaru, it's Kabuto. You get this like weird, interesting vibe.
Yeah.
And so I've always thought like, okay, when it comes to Kabuto and Orochimaru, I feel like so many people want one or the other. Either Kabuto gets built up more. My example is he kills. I mean, obviously, I love Sasuke killing Orochimaru, but if Kabuto kills Orochimaru, ignoring Sasuke for a minute, that would build up Kabuto more, for example. Or a lot of people wish that Orochimaru was the one in the war because he was already built up.
Yeah.
It either could work. I do think they could have done more with either one to make. Granted, the weird thing for Orochimaru is okay. If he's in the Izanami, the Edo Tensei aren't coming back. So I think Kabuto just being built up more would work really well. Just play on that dynamic that was built up and dropped ultimately. How to do it, I don't know, but I'm with you on the Kabuto one. I think they just could have given him a little bit more, and even play up a little bit more with the Obito dynamic because it was really cool. I loved it.
And I agree.
Like,
it's I don't see enough people talk about it. It's so great. Yeah, it just never, and I like how it ended. I just would have liked more on it. You know what I mean? I would love to see more.
Exactly.
I agree 100%.
Because it's like one of those things where it was so good that you wanted more.
Yeah.
Well, early on in the tuning exams, he was sort of his own character outside of Orochimaru. Again, he's like stated equal to Kakashi, but he's like being played up as Kakashi's rival, going to kill Sasuke, but he's like one step ahead of Kakashi the whole time, and he's like smiling the whole time, even as he's getting away. And the fact that he's going to go kill Sasuke, that's outside of Orochimaru. That's almost like a betrayal. It's like he's playing as a double agent, which could have been really interesting.
And like, also with Kabuto is, he doesn't look like a snake like Orochimaru, but the dude acted like the biggest snake in the series, and it's so fitting for him to become a snake later on. Like,
yeah, I agree. And I will say too, a subsequent result of that is that I was a big fan of like Team Hebi / Team Taka. I thought it was the coolest thing that Sasuke had his own squad and carried that throughout the story. And I kind of wish there was like that transferred over a little bit more into late work. Like, yeah, I know they appeared, but when he was like kind of traveling around with them, I love that dynamic. I love that they just kind of made
it was really fun.
Yeah, I actually really enjoyed that. I kind of wish they kept with that, especially even like post.
I do get why they didn't though, because of Sasuke's character. That's the problem.
Yeah,
it was so cool, but at the same time, part of his thing was he was pushing those people away and betray him. So.
Exactly. But I'm always a fan of that. For example, like Hebi Sasuke is one of my favorite versions because he's a very morally gray character, and he is like this neutral force, like this third party. So I'm always a fan of that when you kind of have like these entirely separate faction just kind of operating on their own terms, kind of like what we were describing with Kabuto just now. How he kind of like was doing his own thing, and even like part 1 with like Orochimaru.
And there was a cool parallel actually. With Sasuke versus Kabuto, the way they were using Orochimaru's power and continuing on. Like, that's another thing you could build up on both ends here. I know Oodie would love this because he loves Soigetsu, but give them more shine too because they're cool.
I am so upset Suigetsu versus Kisame never happened. I have to say that. That's one of the fights.
Yeah.
I was
I mean, it
so
did, but not really.
like yeah. I was like I really thought and you know they really could have just brought Kisame back, but I understand why they didn't. And I understand it really wouldn't have maybe it would have worked, but that's like a big one because I thought Suigetsu was a really cool character as well, like this prodigy among the 7 Ninja Swordsmen. I'm a hit and miss fanboy. Anything hit and miss, I love like the whole like you know.
They're
7
like
Ninja
the
Swordsmen.
coolest villain. Like it's like
Yeah.
Toji. It's just they're just cool. It's
Yeah,
the Blood Mist
yeah.
Village is cool. Like
So that was something I really enjoyed as well. So now that Suigetsu is a good one as well.
For sure. I like Mangetsu as well. Suigetsu's brother.
yeah,
Yeah.
especially he's the top dog 7 Ninja Swordsman who doesn't get sealed, and we just didn't get to really see him fight. Like,
Yeah, the only
Guys,
swordsman
Naruto.
revived without a sword, and he was still just destroying everyone.
Yeah.
it's like Kimimaro. It's like you brought this dude back. Is one of the most interesting. A dynamic with Soigetsu and Mangetsu could have been cool. But we just didn't do anything with it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I think honestly that might be where the war arc probably like I wouldn't say fail, but like was the most lackluster. Is there's a lot of cool ideas that Kishimoto came up with but didn't really flesh out. You probably were better off reviving less people and focusing more on the ones you do
Yeah.
revive, just for the sake of really hitting home the best ones. Like I think you know the Kimimaro one. No offense to Ginkaku and Kinkaku.
Oh, that
but
fight's
it would have been
horrible.
more
Say it how it
engaging.
is. Say it how
Like-
it is. That fight is awful. In my
Like,
opinion.
I
at
don't
least.
hate the fight, but it's like I think the Kimimaro one would be a lot more
Agreed.
resonating. It'd be more impactful and arguably cooler because Kimimaro was that dude. Like you know, some of
Yeah.
the things that's like half the fights are there for nostalgia purposes. Asuma versus Team Shikacho, they play it up with thematic stuff.
Yeah.
That's what the Edo Tensei's biggest advantage was for Kabuto. So why not play up on it for
Yeah.
pretty much everyone? Like Haku and Zabuza versus Kakashi, that's for a reason.
Yeah, that was phenomenal.
Do it with everyone.
The thing with the
Kisame,
Ginkaku
though, it's
Kinkaku
tricky.
fight is I don't think they're fighting Ginkaku and Ginkaku. What they are fighting is they're fighting Hagoromo's tools, and we haven't had those explained. So we have to get all that explained, not before the fight, but during the fight. And that is the whole fight, is pretty much just the explanation. Like, I could have been Ginkaku and Kinkaku and done just as good as them.
I've talked to a couple different people about this. It feels like a JoJo fight. If you guys have watched
Yes.
JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, it's very JoJo-esque. And even the conclusion to that fight, I didn't like how Daura changed his word. His second most said word happened to be a few uses off his most said word. I was like, "There's no
There he
way.
is.
There's actually no freaking way that they did this." So I agree, and I do think they're cool, and I do think it was done with a purpose to be like, kind of get a little bit more insight into like Tobirama's death and whatnot. But even then, like when you have that, and then like you're going over like Hiyashi versus brother, it's like, dude, that could have been cool. We don't really get to see much on like the
Yeah,
Hyuga.
or Neji versus Hiyashi could have been, or
Exactly.
Hizashi could have been one. Like there's a lot of ideas you can tell was on his mind, but he just. I mean, I wouldn't say that he purposely didn't get to it. I think he just never got the chance to get to it. Essentially,
Yeah.
you know, there's not a whole lot he could do, unfortunately. Just the way it is with Shonen Jump shit, but it's unfortunate. Like this is probably what I would focus on if I was going to do a rewrite of Naruto. Stuff like this, I would change these smaller things so that I think that they're just more impactful because I think it's cool.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, before I actually, Oodie, we can give our underrated characters first. I was gonna ask though, what's like maybe your top 3 most wanted Edo Tensei fights that we didn't get, but we'll come back to that. Oodie, do you have a pick for underrated?
Underrated? I think we could have seen Inari again if that counts, but I don't think that counts. I think underrated, Zaku was definitely really cool. One of the sound minions in like the tuning
Yeah.
exams. Yeah, his whole backstory is anime only. The fact that he's like the Edo Tensei for Hashirama or Tobirama. We could have got more about the sacrifice nature there, about how he's willing to do it, or how he was like betrayed by Orochimaru. We could have seen his final moments there. And like the whole fight with Shino, that's like his highlight. That and like when he's like beating up Sakura, I guess, and then like getting beat up by Sasuke. But we could have just got so much more outside of there.
What I found interesting though is how he was the only one we got a story for in the anime. Like they didn't even give it to Dosu, who's the
Okay,
main
yeah,
dude.
they got none. They got none.
But I think okay, this is gonna sound like a weird pick. I'm gonna actually I mean this. Haku and Zabuza. I just don't like nobody hates on them, but they are just under talked about. I feel like one of the best, like just thematically speaking people
Oh,
in the
yeah.
story. I feel like they just don't get enough shine.
Oh, it's because you can always go back to them no matter what arc, no matter what problem, conflict you're dealing with, no matter the conversation. It all relates back to them because they are the overarching themes. And Zabuza and Haku's end, the fact that Naruto saw that, he can carry that and use that to solve his problems in the future. It's what gives him his
It's also
conviction,
was
his
just
resolve.
So, like emotionally amazing. Like, you know, I talk about emotional moments in Naruto. Like, it's just that arc was so good for that. It's one of the saddest deaths. Like, it's on my. I haven't made my list yet, but it's definitely a contender for saddest death in Naruto. I feel like it was just so good.
Yeah, so Zabuza and Haku don't give him his goal, but it gives him his initial reason for striving for his goal. So he wants to become
Both
Hokage,
during
he
the
wants
arc
to
and
change the
after.
world, but now he has a why. He has a drive to do it for a specific reason, and we know that
He
reason.
also
We get to see it.
develops like his never giving up, never going back on his word. Like that, like this arc builds that. Like in
Exactly.
this arc, he starts.
Yeah.
He has this oath of pain, and he has like he progressively builds up as I'm never running away. I'm never going to give up stuff. Like in this arc, and that carries Lily forever in Naruto.
He goes through the whole journey through this arc, whole hero's journey.
And that's why I feel like they're not like hated on again. They're just I feel like they deserve like the most talk in the world, and they're not getting it.
Yeah, even the whole use or be used, like what a ninja tool is. like, what it
Exactly.
is, That's like
Yeah.
that's prevalent literally for the rest of the series. Like that. What is
Even
it,
in
it's what it
Boruto,
Even in
Yeah.
Two Blue Vortex,
it's
yeah.
repeated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's repeated
Literally
with
repeating it.
Kashin Koji. It's repeated with Code with the claw grimes. He literally says, "Oh, well, the claw grimes are just used
Just
as tools,
tools, right?
anyways." Yeah.
Like, so that's why. Although for screen time, I don't think they. Obviously, it's like, yeah, who doesn't want more Haku and Zabuza? But they have the perfect amount of screen time. They're the first arc. What you gonna do? For an under screen time one though, that's tough. Like I like the Kabuto pick. Obviously, there's old Neji Rock Lee, but that's like the
Yeah.
obvious answer.
Yeah.
So I know Oodie and we've talked about Gaara in this light. He's kind of a gray area where I don't think he's way underdone. You could have done a little bit more. It's Shippuden specifically.
Yeah, we've talked about how he could have been used in the Hidan or Kakuzu arc, or even, funny enough, the Pain arc. Like, especially if Gaara was there and died against Pain, and then Naruto knew or saw, he could have gone crazy based on that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff they could do. I think the Pain arc is better for it than the Hidan and Kakuzu arc, personally, because it's in the village, so Tsunade calls them to the village the same way they called Naruto's team to the Sand Village. But
Well,
I mean,
even
this is so stupid. But honestly, the sound for it in general, not just Kimura, but the whole sound vibe, I love them.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
awesome.
yeah, sticking with Sasuke though.
Go for the sound six.
Those who the sound sticks. Sticking with Sasuke though, I think especially the Gaara and Sasuke rematch that we never really got. We kind of did it in the Five Kage
yeah.
Summit, just not really. But it's just so thematically relevant because Gaara's looking at Sasuke's eyes and you still have the hatred that I had long ago, but now yours is even darker. And you just see Sasuke's like blood tear while Gaara cries out of one eye. It hits so hard, but that's as far as they go with it when they could have gone much deeper.
Yeah. Like, and I don't want A and everyone else there too. I want it to just be Gaara versus Sasuke, like a one-on-one for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess going back to Kabuto though, my favorite part of Kabuto, I don't know if you've seen this movie, but the Chikara arc, the power arc.
Yeah.
Oh, it's phenomenal. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that bit. Yeah.
Yeah, so when Kabuto's changing, when he like first gets Orochimaru after Orochimaru dies and he goes on his own little journey, but like before the war arc, after he's fully transformed, he's just so dangerous and unhinged. He's unpredictable and we know that he will do anything. He's willing to do anything because the most dangerous person is a person who's already given up. and he has, so he's willing to sacrifice himself for anything. That makes him unpredictable. You know he's going to do something big, and you don't know what it is, and that is tension. It's when something bad is expected to happen, but it hasn't happened yet. That's Alfred Hitchcock's Bomb Under the Table, going back to screenwriting.
I also liked how they tied in the main villain of the movie into the Kabuto learning more about the Edo Tensei, and of course, the Pidon and Datara dynamic was funny.
Yeah, it's definitely a great movie.
I think I like your pick for screen time, Kabuto. They could have built him up even more, and it just would have been awesome. Like, Kabuto works, actually, as a really late-game villain because of how he was introduced, like, just every step of the way. Like, it could have worked. He could have been, like, one of the last villains if they wanted to.
No, I absolutely agree.
We did get his backstory, but I wish we got more. Also, we didn't get a strong conclusion. Like, Kamui, you know his name because you know everyone's name. Kabuto's brother, we see him in the war arc, and like, oh, I hope we get to reunite one day. And then we see...
remember his name.
Oh, you don't? You remember everyone's name. You've remembered his name in the past. Well, okay, we get that, but then we also get the fact that Kabuto's running an orphanage in Boruto. Like, it's a cool concept. It's a good resolution for the character, but we don't see... I don't want to say we don't see the journey because we know Izanagi happened or whatever, but like we don't really get to see what happens there.
We don't feel the journey. We are told it. We don't feel it. We don't experience it. We don't see the aftermath. But yeah, we see him welcoming the Shin clones, but we never see what happens after that. You know?
Exactly.
I mean, Kabuto is just one of those characters a lot of people want to see in Boruto that we aren't.
Yeah.
A lot of people want to see those Shin clones, especially. I feel like people forget about Kabuto.
What is happening with those? Like, those, where are they? What's going on? Like, can we talk about that?
I'm gonna be honest. I don't think they're gonna show up a single time in Two Before.
No, I don't think so either.
If they haven't at this point, they're not coming in. Like,
I mean, it's not like they scale high in the first place.
If he's not Hokage or advisor, he ain't showing up. Like,
well, they aren't training, are they? They're just at an orphanage. Like, they aren't shinobi. They aren't in the academy. They aren't going on missions.
As far as we know, yeah.
Yeah.
As far as we know, Kabuto's not trying to make them ninja.
I mean, I guess a couple of them might have that desire.
I mean,
like,
they already were trained as ninja by Shin himself, but
they could also scatter across the world. Like, they're almost like, I know you haven't seen Dragon Ball, but like the Cell Juniors. Because I know even in Dragon Ball Super, they're relevant on like Android 17's island and stuff.
Yep.
So maybe they will come up in the future, but it could also just be like a side story or like a one-off. It could just be a different thing.
It is. It's a Naruto side story.
Oh, I mean like in the future. But yeah.
Oh, I mean, I would like to see it, but for what I just said, it's a Naruto. I mean, granted, some things in Naruto Gaiden, like the build-up to Momoshiki's there, but for the most part, it's a Naruto side story. Nothing is really come back. Like, there's small things, you know, Sakura and Sasuke's dynamic, but for the most part, it's just the Naruto side story. It's not coming in. But if we're lucky, it will. Because I would like to see Kabuto, Orochimaru, and all them show up. Orochimaru's got more hope because of Mitsuki.
Yeah, for sure. Appreciate you coming on, though, Thunder God. If you wanted to shout out your channel one more time, I'll go ahead and link it in the comments and all that. So, yeah.
Thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun, and it was obviously high time that we got in a call and actually spoke aside from DMs. 'Cause I know we talked for a while and stuff like that. And you helped me out with a bunch of stuff, which I appreciate a lot. So I obviously had to come through and talk to you guys.
Yeah, Japanese is crazy. I'm glad I can help out, though.
No, it's unbelievable. I hate ChatGPT. Every time I see it, I want to slam my monitor. It's so bad. So no, 100%. But thank you for having me once again.
Yeah, no problem. Appreciate you coming on.